jobs. The only thing you guys can do is, be positive. Things will get better. Let's just be grateful through these tough times that we're healthy. We're still around. I know that, a lot of people are getting really sick. So yeah, let's just try to be a little bit more positive, and obviously there's a lot of algae along the tank. I decided to do a good algae scrub down before I actually trim the tank. Um, I've been trying to do this upkeep in terms of scrubbing down the algae maybe weekly so that the algae doesn't kind of get out of control. I am still trying to dial back the light just slightly and just kind of playing with some of the CO2. But right now, just because the tank is maturing, I think this algae will pass in a couple weeks here. And especially with this trim back here, I think that it will definitely help. So as you already noticed, we do have some livestock in the tank. I didn't actually film the addition of the livestock. But what we have in here is some Celestial Danios and also some painted fire reds that are basically higher grades of cherry shrimp. Some other additions to help control the algae, I have 2 autos in this tank along with a few Amano shrimps. I'm doing a pretty thorough clean with the rocks just because I did notice some black beer algae. Sadly, I have to deal with this. I really try to avoid as much algae as possible by getting basically all tissue cultured plants, but even with that, there is black black beer algae in the tank. Now, it's probably going to take some time just to kind of get this algae under control. I'm using some hydrogen peroxide along with some scraping methods just to kind of get the majority of it off. But the idea is I want these plants to kind of root onto the driftwood securely and nicely. So I'm going to trim back heavily on the plants on the driftwood because I don't want it too wild where it's kind of covering the plants on the bottom. Because right now, obviously, it's overgrown and these plants are kind of just shading a lot of the carpet plants, so they're not growing in really well. And by trimming it back all the way, especially almost to kind of the bare roots, it will grow a lot thicker and bushier, and it will kind of cover the driftwood a little bit more tightly instead of more loosely. So right now it's kind of loose. So it's kind of like a mix of trimming it back like almost all the way and then like letting it grow out and then trimming it back so it can kind of get more dense. Now if you notice, a lot of the stem plants in the back are growing very well, the far right side. And on the far left side, I did expect it not to grow really well because of the overflow box blocking the light. Along with the trimming of the plants on the driftwood, I'm going to trim back some of the stem plants in the back and replant them so I can kind of get a denser bush, kind of trying to fill in that gap and void back there. Now going back to the livestock real quick, this is going to be it pretty much for the livestock. I'm not going to add any more fish into this tank. I think that it's good enough. The cherry shrimp will probably reproduce and have babies. Probably have a ton of shrimp in here, and eventually I will have to net some of those guys out and put them somewhere else, just because I don't want the tank to be overpopulated with just, I guess, livestock, because the focus again is still mainly on the scape. And if you have a bunch of like cherry shrimp all over the place, it might be distracting, or it might be pretty attractive. Then I also have a clip here about a week later after the trim. As you can see, the water is a lot clearer, and this is before the maintenance. There is some spotted algae on the tank that I need to kind of wipe off. And also, you can kind of see some of the stem plants uprooted itself, so I need to replant those. For the most part, it's coming back along really well. So far, the tank is going pretty decently. We did have a bunch of melt back in terms of the carpeting plants and some of the plants. Unfortunately, it didn't really go according to plan. I was hoping that, all the plants will grow in like instantaneously and about the same time, but it really didn't. So we'll just kind of give this tank a little bit more time to mature, and as it matures, I will give you guys more updates on the tank. If you guys aren't subscribed yet, make sure you guys are subscribed. Make sure you guys hit that like button so we can kind of get this video pushed up in the YouTube algorithm. And like always, until next time, guys, peace.